Well, hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today we will dive into a very exciting topic, AI-powered analytics, the next evolution in learning impact measurement. This session is eligible for HRCI, SHRM, and ATD professional development credits. For those of you who aren't familiar with Brandon Hall Group, we are a leading research and analyst firm with a global reach of over 10,000 clients and over 30 years of experience. We provide research-based solutions that drive organizational excellence through innovative tools and insights. Our vision is to inspire a better workplace experience, and our mission is to empower organizations around the world through our research and tools each and every day. Here is a sample of our clients. Our impact extends to over 10 million employees and executives through our comprehensive research library, strategic insights, and prestigious awards program. We also invite you, as always, to participate in our research studies. Links will be available in your handout, or you can always visit brandonhall.com. Once the results are analyzed, all participants receive a piece of complimentary research and other exclusive benefits. If you want to learn more about our Excellence Awards, please visit excellenceawards.brandonhall.com. Brandon Hall Group Institute is the top research and institutes serving learning, talent, and HR leaders worldwide. For over 3 decades, we've shaped the future of human capital management by providing essential research, certification, and recognition to organizations committed to excellence. Thank you to today's webinar sponsor, EI. EI is an emotionally intelligent learning experience design company with over 30 years of expertise in delivering high-impact learning and performance support solutions. The company partners with organizations in their digital transformation journey to drive learner engagement, enhance employee performance, and maximize training ROI and ROE. As a recognized thought leader in the learning space, EI blends strategy, design, and technology, including AI-powered solutions, to drive behavioral change and measurable business outcomes. Certified as a Diamond Smart Choice Preferred Provider by Brandon Hall Group and honored with over 550 global awards, EI is a trusted strategic partner known for its innovative agility and commitment to performance excellence. Now, let's meet today's speakers. We have Sarah, Director from GS1, Pranav, Vice President, Technology and AI Expert at EI, Rohini, Global Head of Content at EI, and Roberta Gogos, VP and Principal Analyst from Brandon Hall Group. We are excited to share that at the end of today's webinar, we will be selecting one lucky raffle winner to win a free Excellence in Action program submission. Stay tuned to see if you are the lucky winner. You must be present to win. Now, just a few quick things to note. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the questions panel on your control bar. We'll be answering them throughout the session. We're also recording today's webinar, and you'll receive an email within 24 hours with a link to the recording and a PDF of the slides. The chat box is open, so feel free to share your thoughts as we go along. Your input makes this more valuable for everyone. Now I would like to pass things off to Roberta.
Thank you so much, Ivy, and welcome everyone to our webinar on AI-powered learning analytics. I am Roberta Gogos, and I'm delighted to be joined today by our panelists. We'll be exploring how AI is changing the measurement landscape for L&D, focusing on practical applications that drive business results. But before we dive in, I'd love to understand your specific challenges. So let's pop into the poll. What's your organization's biggest hurdle with learning measurement today? If you could please select an option that best describes your situation. What are you expecting to see here, Rohini?
Wow, I think, I'd say probably the most recurring challenge would be, linking learning to business outcomes. I see that as very important today. And another one I would say is probably data integration. especially with global organizations, we're learning data sets across so many systems. Those are Sarah, Pranav.
Yeah,
I think.
Yes, Sarah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add also the difficulty demonstrating ROI to stakeholders, but Pranav, what do you think?
I feel the data integration, a lot of data coming in from diverse sources. I feel that should be one of the biggest challenges that generally folks face.
Let's have a look at what the audience has to say. Let's wrap that one up. Connecting learning to business outcomes at 42%. Yeah, that actually very much aligns with research at Brandon Hall Group. So let's have a look at the next slide, please, on the measurement challenge. So just our research reveals a very, very concerning gap. So while 74% of organizations feel equipped for today's measurement needs, only 63% feel prepared for future challenges. This gap actually widens as change accelerates. So traditional measurement approaches simply are not keeping pace with evolving business requirements. And many organizations are actually finding themselves with a lot of data, but starving for actual insights. Sarah, I'd love to hear from you on your specific measurement challenges that nonprofits are facing in this environment.
Sure, Roberta. So this really reflects also what we have seen at GS1. And GS1 is a non-for-profit organization. We provide global standards and services to industry, and we also have 118 member organizations around the world. So we work through a federated model. So we are a very complex organization. Because we are a non-for-profit, we don't measure ROI in learning in the financial terms, but we focus on the impact of training through engagement, satisfaction, and also the ability to equip our federation with the knowledge and skills they need to build capabilities across the global community and grow our community as well. So what we call return on learning. And I would like to say that starting exploring the AI-powered analytics, we can get deeper insights, we can identify patterns, understand what is working, and also measure what is important for us. So it's really enabling GS1 people to learn, grow, and also for GS1 people to make an impact locally with the industry. Does it resonate with you, Roberta?
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, these challenges are becoming increasingly urgent across the board. Let's have a look at key challenges in L&D measurement. Let's examine these three critical challenges more closely. So first, there's misalignment with business outcomes, which remains persistent across our research. Traditional metrics like completion rates of it don't demonstrate actual impact. Second, most analytics are reactive rather than predictive. So they offer limited guidance for future decisions. And then thirdly, organizations are facing significant limitations in data processing capabilities. So you can see the numbers here on the right. Only 45% of employees report that training doesn't meet their needs, and 13% of organizations use AI tools for learning support, which represents a substantial opportunity gap. Rohini, I'd love to hear from you quickly on how you're seeing these challenges play out with the organizations you work with.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier on as well, the traditional metrics are failing. We're looking at, how to change that. And a lot of organizations are coming with requests to us saying, how can we build something that, that helps us look into the future rather than just analyze what's happened in the past. So I think that is a conversation that's happening more and more and across business and business, types.
Thank you. Let's pop over to making the business case. The business case for AI-powered analytics is very compelling. Our research shows that 75% of organizations prioritize aligning learning with business goals, but many struggle to make this connection. Organizations using AI analytics, however, are 60% more effective at showing measurable results. So AI identifies patterns in learning data that humans often miss, and anticipate future skill needs before they become urgent gaps, and processing unstructured learning information from sources like discussions and social introductions, etc. From the technology perspective, I'd love to hear from Pranav, what business impacts are you seeing when organizations implement AI for learning analytics?
Definitely, Roberta. So what has happened is over the years with the advancement of the tech, earlier the AI was able to manage or process statistical information. From there, we moved to a little more structured information, and there we had supervised, unsupervised, and those types of learnings. Now, with the Gen AI piece coming in and the advancements happening to such extent that unstructured data is completely processed, analyzed, and patterns are matched internally in that unstructured data as well. So the based on the data, the AI is able to pick up patterns really well as compared to us in that case, if we compare. So, because of that, a lot of things that were going unnoticed earlier, like in the traditional learning methods or analysis that were happening, firstly, there was not a lot of data that was being captured. And even if that was being captured, the pattern or the relation between that data points to be connected, and then, as Rohini said, to predict how something is going to impact, that was a big challenge to do manually. And now with AI, with all these latest models coming in, like 2 3 days back, OpenAI released their coding model, the Codex platform. With all of these latest advancements coming in, there's a lot of uh, forward movement happening, and a lot of companies are even adopting it. So it is very impactful, and it is being adopted gradually. Companies are making note of it, and they're gradually incorporating it.
Thank you, Pranav. I think what we can all agree on is that there is definitely some urgency here. If we could pop over to the next slide, please, Ivy. This urgency for change that we're seeing is really driven by transformation, the technologies. 50% of employees will need reskilling in the coming years, with 40% of core skills expected to change. Without advanced measurement capabilities, organizations struggle to identify skill gaps proactively, to justify L&D resources to leadership, and even demonstrate as well learning effectiveness. I'd like to hand it over to our panelists to discuss how learning analytics has evolved to meet these challenges. So if we can pop over to the next slide, and Sarah, I'd like to ask you, please, as we kick off the next slide on learning analytics.
Yes, sure.
If you could start us off with your perspective on how analytics have evolved. I'm not seeing the next slide, but I don't know if everybody else does. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Roberta. So this slide shows how learning analytics are evolving. And you can see, from focusing on retrospective data to using AI to predict, personalize, and align learning with the real business outcome. But if we think about, for years, we have tracked completions, quiz scores, surveys, but it has been quite challenging as a recurrent question for us. Do we really understand what people gained and how learning helped them perform better? So also I remember we had this constant challenge. Are these ways of tracking KPIs really meaningful for us. But now with the evolution towards AI-powered analytics, we have the opportunity to ask and also answer more of these meaningful questions like, is this training program closing capability gaps? Or are we seeing faster onboarding, better collaboration, or in our case, just one, better engagement? And if we think about this is a technical change for sure, but is also focusing on human one, because behind every data point is a learner, a team. So it's all about people. And AI helps us to see new patterns, also act faster and smarter, but with the same exact goal. So we want to enable people to grow and succeed. So I would love to hear the perspective of Rohini and Pranav on the evolution of the metrics.
Thanks, Sarah. I think, like you said, we've, for years and years, we've measured, completion status and quiz scores and satisfaction rates. But I think now where we're going or where we need to go, we need to aim is to provide real world application and business value. Because, again, like I said earlier on, I think that's very, very important. And with AI coming in, the evolution in analytics really reflects what I as a learning designer have always wanted. It's not tracking what people do, it's how they will improve or how they can improve and how this learning can fuel growth. That's my perspective, and I think that's where AI can kind of come in and help us move from descriptive and predictive kind of data to more prescriptive analytics. That's where I see the real value. Pranav?
Yeah, just to quickly add to it. So I feel the shift is a little more strategic in nature, where earlier the tracking was a little more administrative, that, has someone completed it or not completed it. From that, now it's become a little more strategic, where the impact is being measured, the skill gap is being measured, there is continuous assessment in a way happening. And based on all of that, we are looking forward. We are predicting in the future, how the outcomes are going to be reflected or how this is going to impact. So that's how it's evolved.
Thanks, Pranav. We have a comment from David Ferrier. He says he thinks a challenge is that in order to get learning data, some LMS admin has to export a report and then to even use that with AI, upload that into the AI tool and somehow ask it to match that report with business outcomes. This might happen once because it's all manual. And he says, what we need is a button in an LMS that does all of that.
Yeah.
So
that's a very interesting use case where we in EI, we are designing standalone solutions which are built on top of the existing LMSs, where all of this happens, as he said, with a click of a button.
There's another comment about the data in this report. This is actually tied to an ebook that Brandon Hall Group and AI powered by MPS has collaborated on, and you'll be able to download that ebook at the end of this webinar, and you'll be sent it also in follow-up emails. So thanks, great questions. Let's jump over to the next slide on modern learning technologies. Pranav, would you please walk us through how modern learning technologies generate data for AI analytics, please?
Sure. So if we look at the earlier learning systems, there would be just a single type of data that would be generated in a way where a particular course was completed, not completed, and there would be some points where some feedback or some assessments would be captured to gauge whether things are complete or not. Now, if we look at the modern technologies or learning modalities that have come in, it has become a little more immersive. And it's not simply because of the evolution of tech, it is because of the change in the pattern of human learning. So earlier, if you look at the amount of time a person could focus on a particular learning was greater. Now the concentration time has reduced because of all of these apps that we are using, all of the tech that is floating around us. So based on that, the learning methodologies and tech also has to be adapted in a way where the it becomes a little more impactful, engaging, and that's where all of these things have come in, where LXPs are now trending, where we are focusing more on immersive learning. It's not simply 2 plus 2 equal to 4, but it is something where the candidate experiences how 2 and 2 are added, and you get an outcome which is 4, which is in complete addition. So there is a paradigm shift in a lot of tech in the space of learning, which has now become a little more rich. There is diverse modalities that are present, and all of that data is also now being captured, and then that is being leveraged by the AI to do the analysis.
Thank you, Pranav.
I'd
love to
Roberta, I'd
go
like to
ahead.
come in with an interesting example that Pranav and I have been talking about, especially with social learning. There's powering communication portals with AI and helping learners actually learn troubleshooting quicker. And that's been a very interesting, conversation, for us. It's an interesting solution as well, where, there is, I can't get into too much detail, but there is a communication portal where traditionally you would ask, a question and someone would kind of route it to the OEM, and then they would get a response. But we're looking at how to get AI to kind of help with that and make that process more efficient.
So in a way, it's like a competitive learning kind of a atmosphere.
Yeah, we're trying to gamify
That's
it as
great.
well, because, like upvoting responses, and that not just gamifies it, I think it also helps the AI to learn which answers are working, what worked better, what didn't work better. So it's all a combination that's been very interesting for us.
Great. I just want to, while people are putting questions in the chat, we're going to try to get to as many as we can during this webinar. If we don't manage to, then the team from EI powered by MPS will get back to you after the fact. But we'll try to get to as many as we can during this session. Ivy, could we please pop over to the next slide, please? I'd love to dive into now traditional versus AI powered. Pranav, could you compare and take us through traditional versus AI powered approaches and the advantages you see in AI's ability to process unstructured data?
Sure. So as I've already mentioned, that the traditional analytics were more focused on completion rates. There was a lot of structured historical data that was there. The feedback or the kind of a star rating that was taken would then indicate whether a course is impactful, not impactful. So looking at all of that, so traditional analytics would answer in a way that what happened uh, in a particular course, like if they're learning a particular thing, so what all has happened. Using AI powered analytics, we can answer what can happen next, and opposed to that, what we want to happen. So we can basically drive it towards the goal. So it can be aligned or it can be mapped real time in a way where we are continuously realigning, or it's basically like a steering wheel. We are trying to guide the learner towards the goal. Like as it was mentioned, like it's very difficult to have business goals aligned with learning. So how does that happen? So that's where AI comes into the picture, where you have adaptive learning, where the learning path adapts to how the learner is performing. So if Pranav is getting into a course and the business outcome of that particular course is to develop and deploy an application, and when Pranav is performing during the course, the AI would map that performance to the goal and align the path a bit better, where whatever is being missed out it would be considering a little more emphasis on that, whatever Pranav needs to know more in order to achieve the goal or reach a particular place in terms of knowledge. And it would steer the entire learning journey. And that is not simply happening with the help of simple text or audio. It's a mix of, again, multimodality comes into the picture, where XR, VR. I think Rohini can talk a little bit on how we are implementing all of that in the various experiences that we thread together. But with AI powered analytics, it's more future looking, it's more forward looking, and it helps in driving the entire learning journey in an adaptive and a more focused, steered manner. Rohini?
Sure, I fully agree, Pranav. And I think, you spoke about, pulling from structured and unstructured data. I think that's a very important part. I mean, I see that as very important because, now again with AI, we're able to pull so much data from so many different sources, right? Whether it is, of course, your courseware, and whether, your learning goals are aligned to the KPIs and how well you're performing, all of that, yes. But I also see, and there is a solution we're working on where, we're able to, of course, pull, data from like forum comments, responses, sentiments that people are, expressing towards a particular kind of learning solution. We're able to track that, unstructured and structured data to identify, again, what, not just what happened, but also what should happen next. And, someone very recently made this funny car analogy and said, traditional analytics gives us like a rear view mirror, but AI gives us the headlight. We see where we're going and what is coming. That made a lot of sense to me.
True.
Thanks, Rohini. I'd love to talk about AI capabilities with some real examples for our audience. A lot of people are asking for real examples. I don't know if you want to kick this off, Rohini, on this topic, and if we can please pop over to the next slide, Ivy. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So, let's unpack what AI can already do today, right? One is, of course, it can detect learning patterns in real time. It can identify, I think, at-risk learners before they disengage from a learning solution. It can connect, content consumption to behavior change or even skill applications. It's able to do all of that. And I think, for us at AI, we've always kind of seen how can this support the learner and the business, right? We're working with organizations where AI can spot a skill gap, right? And I'll take an example of that, right? So, for example, we take, again, multiple kinds of, data. For example, what are the KPIs that the organization has, in place for employees at all different kinds of levels. So we take that, data, that those are the KPIs for the year. We take, learning material that's already been developed to address those KPIs, or previous learning material which is available and could be matched to some of those KPIs. We can also pull data from, HR portals and say, if we want to focus on a group of learners or the whole range, right? Where we say how they've performed well, what are, do a SWOT, or often SWOT analysis data is available, with the teams. We kind of take that as an input as well. And, get, again, we said we can take unstructured data as well. So any kind of reports, any emails from, reporting managers that can help, inform, where a particular individual or a particular cohort is, in their learning journey. So we take all of this information, and then we're able to kind of, create, have the AI analyze all of this and help us spot a skill gap. And then, decide then as, an L&D team and as a learning designer, we can decide whether, hey, is this something that requires upskilling? Is this something that requires cross-skilling? Or does this require you to make the organization to hire someone who can do that skill? So I would say that is a real example of, what is possible. And again, like I said, these are conversations that we're having with clients. Governance in all of this is very important, and I know we'll come to that, part of the conversation later. But that's an example of something where, working on, like a consulting piece we're working on with the client. I hope, David, I don't know if that gives you a good enough example of what we're doing.
Thank you. I'd love to talk about strategic applications next, and make sure that we have some time to talk about some examples as well. But Pranav, would you please highlight some strategic applications of AI analytics?
Sure. So when we talk about analytics, the core to it is the data. So as we know, data is the new oil, and the analysis is only as good as the data is. So there is a key emphasis in all of this on how much or what type of data we are getting. And from there, then we can analyze on either how impactful the learning was. So there can be like a skill gap analysis where we are able to uh, gauge how far away the person is from the learning. Then the next step would be, if there is a gap, how we try to bridge that gap. So, what kind of support can we provide? So, there would be a strategy around it on how we can try reducing the gap, whether it's with the help of some coaching. Again, as Rohini mentioned earlier, so the learning journey of every individual now can be entirely different. Now, if I have to learn a particular skill, and if I am a programmer, and if there is another person who has to learn a similar skill, and that person comes from, let's say, a media background, then the journey, though it will reach the same point, it can be different. So you can explain the same piece of knowledge to different people with varied examples, and that's what AI makes possible. So for an ID to formulate different examples based on the learners, and that to real time, again, the speed is also very important, is a very big challenge. And that's where AI comes in, and it can formulate examples which people understand. So there might be some examples, maybe regionally, like in India, something might be different. In the US, it might be different. In Europe, it might be different. So those examples can be formulated, those use cases can be given. And then we have those personalized learning paths that can be built around that individual based on the individual's data. So a person would not even imagine that if they go to a particular county in the US for school or college, that example, let's say that county's baseball team or football team, or that example can be related. So the AI can connect the dots on the data points that any individual can miss out, and it can stitch an entire path together, including a lot of immersive learning, and
Right.
strategically built it out. So it would have data, or it would have points where it would measure, analyze, and then act over it. And all of it would happen at real time speed. So
Thanks,
Yeah,
that would
Pranav.
be.
I mean, it's a journey, right? You start probably with just a couple of features, but you kind of build it out into a whole like
Exactly.
learning ecosystem. And I think Sarah would probably be able to give us some examples.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to hear how a specific use case, Sarah, that illustrates these principles your side.
Yes, so I would like to share an example of something that is a very impactful application of AI analytics, especially in global complex environments, about personalized learning paths. And recently we published a new global training strategy. And based on some data analytics supported by AI, we were able to offer tailored training to our member organizations. Again, we are a federation of 118 member organizations with different size, needs, and maturity levels. So this personalized learning path was very important for us, but specifically on how to use artificial intelligence for training development. and provide a baseline plus personalized learning to the different training experts in our member organizations. And we partnered with the EI, powered by MPS, with our colleagues, who really understood the context and helped us shape this journey through personalized sessions aligned with this member organization development stages, expectations, needs based on all the feedback, all the data analyzed with support of AI. We could put together peer learning exchanges, collaborative testing environments, opportunities to co-create solutions. We offered a guide for a certain member organization. So we offered also templates to capture real-world examples. All of that supported by a shared space where the member organization are able to showcase their success stories and also learn from one another. So I would like to reinforce the power of the personalized learning paths because you can really build an ecosystem that is relevant where you foster collaboration and innovation. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this help us do what really matters, enable people to develop and grow.
Thank you, Sarah. Fascinating. I'd love to give Rohini a little time to take us through their model approach, the next gen ROI model approach. If we could please pop over to the next slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta, and thanks, Sarah, for that example and to illustrate exactly what many organizations I think are striving for, right? Moving beyond participation metrics towards measuring real contribution to organization goals and impact, right? So the next gen ROI model starts exactly with that's the philosophy of it. It starts not with learning objectives but with business outcomes, and then we kind of reverse engineer from KPIs that matter, whether it's customer satisfaction, onboarding, operational efficiency, and then we kind of build learning experiences to influence those. It isn't just about better data; it's about strategic alignment. When we show how learning moves the needle on growth, productivity, innovation, we shift L&D from a support function, I think, to something that's more value driven. And earn like a seat at the table by speaking the language of business. So I think that is very important. Thanks, Roberta.
Thanks. Pranav, what makes this continuous feedback loop so powerful?
With this new tech that has evolved, the tech itself has a capability of learning and aligning itself better with the insights that it gathers and with the data that it collects. So, with the continuous learning strategy in place, what it would do is it would enable or it would make the entire process even more fine tuned and granularized, where it would be able to focus on the exact things that we needed to focus. So it would be able to identify what is going wrong, how it can be improved, and then also strategize and build ways of doing it. So the continuous learning is nothing but a way in which we improve it continuously through multiple iterations.
Thank you, Pranav. We have a question from David on providing a real-world example of taking typical LMS data like completions or quiz scores or satisfaction. Would anyone from your team like to address that one?
Sure. So when we talk about LMSs and the data points that are there, so there are various data points that we capture while the learning is in progress. So the completion is one, the completion rates, the time spent on a particular topic, that is also captured. Uh, initially, there is an assessment generally that we put in to gauge how confident the learner is. So if I am going in as a learner and I say I'm an expert of this topic, so all the measurements that are going to happen, all the analysis that will happen, it will happen against this threshold of me being an expert. And based on that, if I am spending more time on a particular topic, if I'm even after spending more time, I am thinking I am not confident enough to answer the questions, and after answering the questions in the wrong manner, the outcome would reflect that you thought that you were an expert, but based on the data, where confidence level also can be in a way mapped with the help of how much time you take to answer a particular question. So all of that would be mapped. You would be then categorized against that threshold. And then the next piece, the learning journey, would be also drafted or sculpted based on that analysis. So there are a lot of different data points that are captured. And again, we have received various clients that want to look at that entire strategy in a very different way. Some like to call it the confidence level on how quick they are answering. Some want it in a different manner where they want to see how quickly they go through the content and then they answer correctly or incorrectly. So again, it can be strategized in multiple ways, and with the tech like XAPI and the other API formats that are coming in, more and more data is now being available. So we can leverage all of that.
Thank you. And I'm sure that the team from EI will be happy to show you an example of how they map data, David, after this webinar as well. Let's jump over to our next poll question. How would you describe your organization's current use of AI in learning analytics? So let's leave a minute or so. This will give us some context for our next discussion and implementation.
Currently, I feel there's a lot of skepticism in the use of AI. There is people are very scared on how the AI will be, what it'll do with my data, So that,
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
think
that's a
is
big one. That's a big
big
one.
concern.
But I do think that organizations are beginning to explore AI
Open up,
applications,
right.
specifically for learning. So I do think that hopefully that's where we will be, or perhaps
Let's
even
see what the data says. Let's see what the poll says. Here we go. Not using AI for learning measurement at all at 31%, or beginning to explore AI is at 47%. So I think we were expecting numbers along those lines. Most organizations are in the very early exploratory stages. That aligns with our research, at least. That shows a lot of opportunity in these areas. I'm sure this is also aligns with what you see, right, at EI. All right, let's talk about implementation guidelines. So next slide, please. So Rohini, I'd love to hear from you what your recommendations are for implementing AI-powered analytics.
Yeah, I mean, I think from an implementation perspective, it's clear. I would say start with the problem, not with the tool. Figure out what is the business need, what is the problem that we're trying to solve, focus on that, business need, then, discuss those requirements company-wide, audit your data. I think that is very important. Involve, leadership right at the outset, because you need that buy-in. That's very, very critical. And also include IT and legal early. I think that is very important, because, things like privacy and ethics shouldn't be afterthoughts. They should be foundations. And that's something Pranav alluded to just a little while ago, during the poll as well, is, people's privacy and data. That's a matter of real concern. So I think we should be very careful about that. That's that's my 2 bits on the implementation.
Thank you. And you talked about pilot projects as well. Last time we spoke about this, like selecting specific program or department for controlled implementation for success metrics.
Right.
Could you walk
Yep,
us through
yep.
that a little bit?
Sure. So I would say, when you want to, begin the AI journey, again, like I said, the business problem is important. So pick something that is critical, to the organization, that will have a lot of, value, and buy-in, I think, will come very quickly. And as soon as you've identified what that high value, kind of project is, start and pilot it while kind of involving all of the different functions. Pilot that, go through the typical feedback cycles, keep improving it with feedback from different cohorts and all different functions. I think that is very important as well, and I think Pranav can talk to that as well from a technical perspective.
Sure, sure. So overall, this entire implementation should not be looked at as, a one-stop event or a one-time thing. It has to happen gradually. Uh, it has to it has to be phased out, and gradually, as you go ahead, you start small, where you formulate the policies, you have the governance team in place, you make sure that the team knows about what it is, what we align to, what we in the company allow using, what we don't allow using, and then gradually you roll it out in the different formats of application or different levels of application of AI. So there are a lot of ethical and privacy and other considerations that go into it. So I am a big proponent of open source use. So you can have open source usage. Like for us, a lot of clients have come who are flexible in using whatever AI you want. Some are very skeptical or very, fixated on not using AI at all. So again, it depends on your business goals, your outcomes that you want to serve, and along with how best your regional rules also fill into it a lot, because some European countries, they are not allowing the use as much. US and other places, they allow some things, they don't allow some things. So that also plays into it. But overall,
Yeah.
it's like a phase-wise approach, and gradually you build into it and let all of it, get implemented in the organization.
Thank you. Yeah, setting the right foundation is definitely crucial. Sarah, I'd love to for you to share with the audience your experience with Microsoft Copilot adoption. It's a great story to share with everyone.
Sure, Roberta. So in our organization, we use Microsoft Copilot as our artificial intelligence tool. And as Pranav mentioned, we started with really small discovery projects, really focusing on specific use cases that could bring value quickly, but also help us learn, but show the results to our leadership. And I would like to share a couple of examples, two ways Copilot is supporting us. So first, in training, it helps us work with large amount of data. For example, survey results. So if we have a lot of data with all the member organizations, we can leverage Copilot to summarize the trends, highlight insights, but also help us draft reports and refine reports. And this allows us to save time, get the insights faster, and also support our decisions. And the second way, this is something ongoing. I mean, we are exploring how to connect Microsoft Copilot with our Power BI dashboard, where we track learning activities and engagement. And this Power BI dashboard to connect to the David question is connected with our LMS. So we have have LMS, Power BI dashboard for reporting and analytics, and we would like to put something in place, a connection with Copilot to really leverage better the AI predictive and AI-powered analytics to spot pattern, explore predictive insights, and also better understand the impact of our learning efforts on our community. Yeah.
And Sarah, I recall you saying that one of the reasons this was successful was because you involved stakeholders very early in the process. You created a cross-functional team, if I'm not mistaken. Could you just explain a little bit, share that with people?
Yeah, this is a key point. So when we do these projects focused on specific cases, we try to involve colleagues, IT, legal to comply with all the data privacy, security, and internal processes, learning and training people, customer service experts, but also other subject matter experts in our organization. And we keep our leadership team informed step by step, because this ensures several things that are important: collaboration, building trust, learning together, because I think we all need to learn and become better in AI, but also have buy-in to move forward. And I think Rohini and Pranav will build more on that, so the success factors in these projects.
Thank you. Yeah. So thank you. That's a good segue into talking about success factors. So Rohini, what factors determine success with AI-powered analytics? Your take.
Yeah, first, it's clean, integrated data that is optimal for the business requirement, so that it can give us insight into, behavior, context, outcomes, not just kind of completion. I think that'll help us to build, meaningfully designed learning. Second, design, of course, and just this is where we are as learning professionals. We need to kind of step up AI and embrace AI. I think it doesn't replace our craft. I think it just expands it. So we must design systems that are, adaptive, personalized, see how we can leverage AI to make a difference. And I think most importantly, people, I think the best tech in the world, cannot succeed without stakeholder buy-in and team capability. So I think building, literacy and fluency around AI within L&D is, as critical as, adapting to the tools themselves. So.
Thanks. And Pranav, could you explain a little the role of data quality and continuous refinement, just quickly?
Sure. So quickly to add on to it, major organizations don't treat AI or the data analytics as just one thereof capability, but it is a capacity that is continuously evolving, because there can be cases where the weakness in one particular parameter or area may impact the other. So it is a continuous process of refinement where you are refining your decisions based on the data, which in turn is giving you better data for taking decisions again in the future. And it's like a cycle. And all of it, again, is relying, as Rohini said, on the quality of data that is there. So a really good data point presented in a very visual, uh, immersive way where I can understand what the data is insinuating at, and based on that, then I can take decisions. So just having data and just throwing on some charts or visualizing something, that would not make as good an impact. But if that particular data is mapped on to the business goals, on how it can help in improving the overall goals for the organization, and it goes like in a complete cycle. It is multiple iterations of it, and it gradually builds out. And as we go ahead, it would probably in the future diversify into multiple faceted data sets altogether. So data and the business goals aligned together is very important, and there is a role of continuous refinement and evolvement of the entire process.
Thank
That's what would
you.
make success.
Thank you. We're almost at time, so I just want to make sure everybody gets their questions in. If we don't answer them in today's session, the team at EI powered by MPS will be sure to get back to you after the webinar. But let's pop over to key takeaways and discussion. So as we wrap up, let's highlight several key points from the discussion. One, that measurement maturity is a journey. Organizations progress through stages from basic tracking to advanced analytics, with each stage building on previous capabilities. AI augments human judgment rather than replaces it. The most effective approach combines AI's pattern recognition with human experience and strategic direction. And lastly, that alignment with business priorities is essential. Analytics must connect directly to organizational goals and demonstrate value. And the team took us through some 6 ways to be successful with implementation. So in the last couple of minutes we have left, I'd like to ask each of you just a quick question. What is the most important advice for organizations just beginning their analytics journey? Rohini. 30 seconds.
What I've been saying from the beginning is identify the business need. That is the most critical. That's why
identify business need. Pranav.
So currently, as we know that different organizations are at different points in the journey of implementation of AI. So my recommendation would be the leaders identify the urgency and treat it not simply as a technological shift or a trend, but a strategic imperative.
Thank you. And Sarah, from your perspective, what's the most important advice for organizations beginning their journey?
From my perspective, start small and start with specific use cases or pilot that solve existing challenges. Involve the stakeholders early, IT, legal, other colleagues, learn together, work cross-functional, learn from each other, and show the value to the leadership. Involve everybody in the learning, in the delivering of your use cases.
Thanks. That's really great advice. So thank you, Rohini, Pranav, and Sarah, for sharing your expertise today, and the audience for your participation. We've had some great questions come in. We'll be able to address those post-webinar via email or directly with the team. Please feel free to download the ebook on today's topic. It contains more detailed guidance on implementation and best practices. This will also be sent to your inboxes along with the slide deck. Please feel free to reach out to any of us with questions as you move forward on your AI analytics journey. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah, Pranav, Rohini. Great insights.
Thank you.
And thank you, Roberta, for all of your great guidance and direction.
And over to you. Oh, Ivy has a slide to wrap up. Thanks, Ivy.
All right, thanks, Roberta. I'm excited to announce the winner of today's raffle winning a free Excellence in Action program submission is Brenda Ward. Congratulations, Brenda. We will be reaching out shortly with more information.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.